Good evening. Hey, welcome to Collective. My name is Nolan. You're making fun of how I'm standing now. So a couple things that we wanted to cover before Josiah comes up and gives the word. There are 3 cards on your table. One of them is a serve card, so if you've been going here and you really want to get involved, you want to be on the worship team, John's holding it up in the back. You want to be on the worship team, you want to help run sound or help us set up, that's a great way to put your information on there. One of them is Connect. I should know this by now. If you just want to get connected, if you want to get plugged in with the house church or just a group of people who will love you and be with you, that's a great way to do that. And the third one is prayer cards. So if you're going through something, if you need something, or if you're celebrating, we want to go through that with you. We want to celebrate with you. So please fill those out if you need to and you want to. The second thing, it's exciting. The second thing is not up on the screen, but if you've been going here for a while and you believe in what God's doing here and our mission here to love the city and live the gospel, you can give. There's an app. It's called Tithely. You can plug in all of our information. You can give and you can contribute to what God's doing here. Or there's a bucket in the back, right back there. You can, whatever you have, whatever you feel like you need to give, however big or little that is, that'd be amazing. So thank you with that. And with that, I'm going to pray, and then Josiah will come up and unpack the word for us tonight. So Father, we thank you, God, that you brought us here. We love you tonight. Tonight's all about you, Jesus. I just ask that you would anoint Josiah to teach us and to guide us through your word, God. Give us ears to hear and hearts to believe that tonight, Father. Guide us in worship in response to who you are and your goodness and your faithfulness and your mercy, God. We love you, Jesus, your King, your Lord, and it's all about you tonight. So in Jesus' name, we say amen.
Amen. His shoes, home.
Brand new.
Brand spanking.
Hey, Trevor. Hey, Trevor. All right. Last meeting in 2018. If you guys have been with us for any length of time, we launched officially as Collective Church June 24th.
Yeah.
The rug is. That is going to trip me up.
Shoot, bro.
Here, I got you. We're good. I fixed it.
Oh, I got that second. Yeah.
Boom. June 24th is when we officially launched as Collective Church, but if you were with us before that, we started as a campus of Golden Creek Church on January, was it 7th? 7th, right, Dave?
We did a Christmas Eve service.
We officially launched.
Soft launch was November 14th.
That's right.
I think.
8th, but yeah.
8th.
14th, something like that. Anyway, all that to say, God has been doing some crazy things in this group of people over the last year, and I'm extremely thankful for all of you. Extremely thankful that God still speaks.
Was it still on?
Oh, hey, can you guys turn the house music off? That'd be fantastic. I was getting a little groovy up here. God's been doing some fantastic things, and I'm really excited because He's not done. And I don't know, this week as I was poring over our passage that we're digging into tonight, which is John chapter 7, starting verse 32. So you can turn there when but in this passage, it's all Jesus talking to the Pharisees and the Jews around him on the last day of the Feast of Booths, really saying that I'm not done working, you're just going to be a little blind to it. And as a church, I'm really excited because God is not done working. He's got a lot to do. Thank you. I love the hype. So with that, one of the things that really spoke to me in this is all of us long to have an encounter with Christ. All of us long to meet Jesus face to face, to have an experience with Him. And that desire is deep-seated within us. And I think some of us lose focus of that. Some of us lose sight of what it means to have an encounter with Jesus, what that looks like even. And I think that even more of us aren't even aware that that's the need. We're just out pursuing anything and everything, and it's all falling short. So as we unpack this passage, as we dive into one of the biggest sections of John that we've taken at a time,
That's the mindset I want us to have. That's the reference that I want us to be using. So with that, John chapter 7, starting verse 32, says this, if I can find it. The Pharisees heard the crowd murmuring these things about him. And so the chief priests and the Pharisees sent servants to arrest him. Sorry, a little bit of backstory. Feast of Booths, if you'll remember, this is the Feast of Booths, or the Feast of Tabernacles. It's a celebration of two things: God's presence, being the temple, also God's rescue, when he literally rescued his people out of slavery in Egypt. And so this is in the middle of the Feast of Booths, where Jesus is talking to the people and saying, hey, listen, you guys are seeking to kill me, and I'm just trying to give you life. Then Jesus said, I am only with you for a short time. This is verse 33. Then I'm going to the one who sent me. You will look for me, but you will not find me. And where I am, you cannot come. Then the Jews said to one another, where does he intend to go so we won't find him? He doesn't intend to go to the Jewish people dispersed among the Greeks and teach the Greeks, does he? What is this remark he made? You will look for me, and you will not find me. And where I am, you cannot come. On the last and most important day of the festival, Jesus stood up and cried out, if anyone is thirsty, let him come to me and drink. The one who believes in me, as the scripture has said, will have streams of living water flow from deep within him. He said this about the Spirit. Those who believed in Jesus were going to receive the Spirit, for the Spirit had not yet been given, because Jesus had not yet been glorified. It's funny, I love that we're in the middle of John, and we took a slight break to remember Jesus' birth, but then we go right back into it, because there's something profound happening here. Jesus is talking to a group of religious people. Now, I don't know your story, but I know that I have a long history of being a religious person, okay? And I don't mean that in a positive sense, right? Like, I know sometimes it's like, oh, he's religious. Okay, he's a good man, right? No, that's not how I mean it. Like, my dad is a pastor, was a pastor growing up. I met Jesus when I was 4 years old, and while I'm very thankful for that, there have been times in my life when I have been a Pharisee. I've been the person who is very judgmental. In fact, when I was 18, before I moved out of the house, I told my parents, I was like, I will never smoke, I will never drink, I will never get tattoos. Those people don't even know Jesus.
He's talking about himself.
Yeah, I was talking about myself. Apparently, I don't know Jesus, right? Because in my life, I've now done all three of those things. Bad pastor moment, I'll admit that. You smoked? Cigars are tasty, okay?
Come on, Pastor, preach.
I have a
Preach.
tobacco pipe, and if you ever want to like really get into the flavor of anyway, all right.
I'm free on
There's a
Tuesdays.
short season in my life, and my dad is gonna roll his eyes because we like record these, and he's gonna listen, and he's gonna be like, seriously, Josiah? But there was a season in my life when I would prepare sermons sitting on our back porch, smoking my pipe, because it was relaxing, and also it like helped me focus. But I was that religious person that if I saw myself now, like 18-year-old me would punch me now in the face and just be like, you tool, you don't even know Jesus anymore. What happened to you? Because I was so focused on the wrong things. And here in this passage, Jesus is telling them, listen, I'm here right now, and I'm only going to be here for a little bit. And eventually, when I go away, you're going to look for me, and you're not going to find me. You're not going to be able to see me. You're not going to be able to have a connection with me. Now, we know, like, if you've read any of the New Testament after Jesus left, he's still working. He's still present. People have a relationship with Jesus, and he's moving. So he has to mean something other than what's there, face value, right? Because I'll tell you now, if we can't find Jesus, I don't have a job. Right? Like, if we're unable to have a relationship with Jesus in this current moment, like he said, literally said, then what are we doing? Right? Like, we could spend a lot more time doing other things other than talking about this, few thousand-year-old book here. But yeah, we do. So there has to be something more. And I think for me, this was deeply troubling and yet also deeply convicting and freeing as I'm reading this, thinking about like, this is where I was, and I'm not saying I'm perfect now because I still tend to go there, like, oh, that person's not even saved. I'm like, dude, you're such a tool. Why? But there's something more. See, he was talking to the religious people, and he was saying, you're focused on the wrong things. You're focused on looking good. You're focused on sounding good. You're coming in with these pretentious motives that are completely false on the inside. Jesus is saying, if you want to have a relationship with me, because I'm only here for a little bit. In fact, it's not long after this, and it's going to take us, probably another year and a half to get to the point. But it's not long after this when Jesus is praying over his disciples, saying, I'm leaving you guys. Right? And that's in the upper room. Then he's taken, and he's killed. 3 days later, raises again. 40 days later, he's taken up into heaven. That's what the passage is talking about, because Jesus had not yet been glorified. He was glorified when he was taken up into heaven. If you want to read about that moment, look at Acts chapter 1. It's my favorite because the disciples are standing there like, where did he go? Just this profound now what moment. But Jesus had not yet been glorified. He's saying, listen, you guys have limited time with me physically right here in front of you, and you're not getting it. And if you're not getting it now with me right in front of you, how are you going to get it when I'm gone? You guys are going to be blind, walking around not able to see. It's like what Isaiah said, or what God said to Isaiah. He's like, you're going to tell people and they're not going to see. You're going to show people, or you're going to tell people they're not going to hear. You're going to show people they're not going to see. They're going to be hardened hearts and blind eyes. The Pharisees are saying he's challenging everything we thought we knew about everything. And I love this. We know this because they ask the question, where is he going? Here's the deal. Jesus has made it easy for us. Alright, so I always relate things to food. Maybe just me. Or hot yoga. Today is food. You guys know the best torta place in Bothell?
Taco Bell.
No. Shut your dirty mouth. Taco Bell's meat comes powdered. Shouldn't be. Think about that for a second. Just add water. No. The best torta place, alright, is the taco truck. Just that way. It's called Mbakity, which is actually... Dude, yes. It is so good. But here's the deal. Now that you guys know where the best place to go to get a torta sandwich in Bothell, if you go anywhere else, you're getting a subpar sandwich. Right? Like, I'm just going to be real clear with that. So, next time you're craving a torta sandwich or maybe like some fresh tacos, where are you going to go?
Taco Bell.
Taco truck.
Impreza.
What's it called?
I quit. Not Taco Bell. No, you're going to go to Mbakity. Right? So here's the deal. Here's what's crazy. I've made it very clear, very simple for you to get the best torta. In fact, I was telling Natalie the other day, and this is why I bring it up. Like, I'm craving some tortas. I have been for like 3 weeks, but it doesn't sound good to my wife. Right? The whole pregnancy thing, she's like, nah, I'm good. I'm like, but I really want something. She's like, no, I'm good. And I guess I'm too scared to go by myself. Just hit me. Will you go with me? Thank you. I appreciate that. It's easy for us to get there, but we still have to do something. Right? We still have to go. Jesus made it even more simple. Right? Next time you're craving a torta, you're going to go right to Mbakity. You know. Jesus made it even more simple. He said, listen, I'm not just going to tell you where to go, I'm going to tell you how to do it yourself. I'm going to give you the recipe for their tortas. Not only am I going to give you the recipe, but I'm going to give you the ingredients. Right? And all you have to do is say, okay, I'm going to follow this instruction. I'm going to do exactly what you said, Jesus. I'm going to mix this dough to make the flour for the bread. That's as far as I get. I'm going to be real honest. I can eat it like nobody's business. Maybe it is another thing. Jesus made it so simple for us. He gave us the ingredients. He gave us the recipe. He said, listen, my Spirit is coming, and it's going to flow out of you like water, living streams pouring from the desert places. It is so simple, and all you have to do is walk in it. All you have to do is walk in it. Church, listen, there are pastors who will stand on this stage and tell you the only place where you can get Jesus is inside the walls of the church, and I'm telling you, that's not true. I'd love to be able to say that because I'd love to pack this place out. That'd be amazing every week to have people lining up out the doors, but it's not true. Overflow, right? Into the kids area.
That's friends.
No kids tonight. You guys need to get busy.
Wow. You got two on the way. You got two coming. Ew.
Let that sink in. Jesus has made it so easy for us to connect with Him, right? We come here and we can experience a relationship with Jesus. We leave this place. We can go to house church. We can gather with people and we can experience Jesus within relationships. But it's even more simple than that. We can be sitting in the car and we can take a moment, turn off the music, get rid of distractions, right? Stop texting. Actually, my brother, Marco Polos, while he's driving.
Squirrel!
So true. But we can get rid of those distractions and we can have a moment with Jesus. He has made it so simple. And yet, we complicate it so much. We complicate it so much. I'll tell you what, there are mornings when I'm up at the butt crack of dawn because Titus or Hadley has woken me up and now it doesn't make sense for me to go back to bed, and so I put them back to bed because it's way too early, and I'll take a moment and just stand outside. I'm freezing my butt off, but I'm standing outside looking at God's creation, and in that moment, I am having a connection time with Jesus.
That's beautiful.
You guys, it is so simple to connect with Jesus. Yes, Sarah?
I want to tell a little story just about last night. It was pretty cool.
Yes.
I was up really late because I couldn't sleep.
Go on.
And I thought I heard thunder outside, and I was like, what's going on? I'm like, I didn't think there was supposed to be a storm. So I walked out and opened my sliding glass door and didn't have any lights on. I just watched the storm and how amazing it was, and that just in that moment I was able to feel just utter peace and tranquility and just amazing connection, and it was just not something that I expected from that moment.
So simple.
It was amazing.
So simple. Listen, I'm going to tell you this. If anyone is thirsty, Jesus said, let him come to me and drink. It's simple. It is purely simple. All we have to do is say, Jesus, I need you right now because I am as dry as can be. And He is there. He is present. And not only present, but He gives you more than you need.
Come on.
Right? He doesn't just say, I'm going to fill you up. No, it's going to overflow. It's going to pour out of you. It's so simple, and yet, rather than be excited or encouraged by this, the people's reaction is this. Listen to this. When some from the crowd heard these words, they said, this truly is the prophet. Others said, this is the Messiah. But some said, surely the Messiah doesn't come from Galilee, does he? Doesn't the scripture say that the Messiah comes from David's offspring and from the town of Bethlehem where David lived? So the crowd was divided because of him. Some of them wanted to seize him, but no one laid hands on him. Then the servants came to the chief priests and Pharisees who asked them, why didn't you bring him? The servants answered, no man has ever spoken like this. Then the Pharisees responded to them, you are fooled too. Have any of the rulers or Pharisees believed in him? But this crowd, which doesn't know the law, is accursed. Nicodemus, the one who came to Jesus previously and who was one of them, being the Pharisees, pages 50, said to them, "Our law doesn't judge a man before it hears from him and knows what he's doing, does it? You aren't from Galilee too, are you?" They replied, "Investigate, and you will see that no prophet arises from Galilee." Rather than be excited, rather than be encouraged, what they are is divided. Their reaction isn't encouragement, their reaction is argument. And it's sad because I'd love to sit here and say, like, it's changed, we're different, we're all encouraged now. But no, we're still divided. We still debate this. We still argue about this. There's still division, not just here, right here, because I don't want to impose that all of you are arguing with me, or any of you are arguing with me, but in the church itself, we argue about, oh, no, the Spirit couldn't do that. The Spirit won't do this. No, you can't experience Jesus that way. You can't have a relationship that looks like that. No, that's not okay with me. We still argue and debate, we fight. We try and dictate our own opinion. We try and usurp God's divine appointment with us. That connection, that community. We try and dodge it. We try and get around it. And God, through Jesus, is crying out, saying, "No, I long to just know you." This afternoon, I got to play some board games with a lot. Anyone play Settlers of Catan? It's an awesome board game, right? I played Catan Junior.
I was like, wow, she's advanced.
No, Catan Junior. You're pirates. Yep. It was amazing. We played for like 2.5 hours.
Nice.
That time with Hillel was so profoundly impactful for her. And for me, but the 2.5 hours worth of board games sitting on the floor, that's a lot, right? I'm not as sprightly as I used to be. But for her, that time was so important and so valuable. But can I tell you something? I wouldn't sit down for 2.5 hours and play board games with Hadley. That would not be valuable time to her. That would be cruel and unusual punishment to her. Right? Like, to her, that would be the worst thing I could do. Like, Dad, why do you hate me? For making me play 2.5 hours worth of board games. And with Titus, I would, no, in order to love on Titus, in order to fill Titus's cup, I'll pick him up and I'll throw him on the bed. Right? Like, chuck him across the room. That's Titus. He's like, yeah, once more, let's go. Fight you. Right? Fisticuffs up and everything. I connect with my children differently. And so, why do we then, on the other side of things, say, God, you have to connect with all of us the same way? Why do we approach it that way? But here, the Pharisees, the scribes, the teachers of the law are like, no, the only way to connect with God is this. And anyone who says otherwise is foolish. Accursed is the word they use, actually. You guys, here's the deal. Jesus came into this world not as a reaction to what was going on, to the sin that had entered, the division, the brokenness, but it was always his plan to come. He came into this world because he knew his creation, and he knew that his creation didn't know him, and he wanted his creation to be able to know him. And so God of the universe became incarnate in flesh that we might know him and have a relationship with him. We miss it. We miss it. I was having a conversation with someone the other day about the Bible, and maybe I'm not as angry as I used to be, I used to be an angry kid. Maybe I'm not as religious as I used to be. I don't want to get myself into trouble in the same sense. The Bible does not hold the same weight in my life that it used to. Josiah, you're a pastor. It holds more, but it's different. Because I used to encounter a problem and be like, oh, okay, how would the Bible solve this problem? Okay, I'll do that. Oh, Proverbs. Okay. Wise man keeps his mouth shut. Foolish man keeps his mouth shut. Okay, I'll keep my mouth shut. Oh. Done. I'm good. That's not right. Yes, it's right? Like that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. What I mean is, for me, there's no life change. There's no internal change that happens. There's no shift. There's no understanding, deeper understanding of who God is, because this book is living and active, right? It should be living and active. It should be transforming our lives, constantly progressing us, not just to be better people, because God doesn't want better people, but to be more like Jesus in all our brokenness, in all of our guilt, in all of our shame, to be more like Him. And so when we hold the weight of the Bible and say, okay, this is not just a manual for how to live, this is a book of life change. This is an internal book that should change everything from the core of who I am. See, Jesus came and they didn't understand that principle. So when they didn't understand that principle, Jesus was there right in their face saying, listen, I'm the one you've been reading about. They're like, no. You can't be. You can't be because A, B, C. Because politically, we're still stuck. Because you're poor. Because they say you're from Galilee, even though he was born where? Bethlehem. Yeah, thank you. You're paying attention to Christmas. Oh, little town of Bethlehem. Even though he was born where he needed to be, they're like, no, you're from Galilee. Nothing good comes from Galilee. There's no prophets that come from Galilee, the Pharisees say, because they're not allowing the Word of God to be living and active in their life, transforming them, revealing to them new things constantly and continuously. And for me, when I stop approaching God's Word as a textbook, all of a sudden I encounter Jesus in a more real and life-changing way. Anyone have just some super dark times in their life? Just some how else do you describe that? Just dark. There have been times in my life where I've woken up and it's not because I'm tired. These are 15-hour night sleeps, waking up no, I'm good. I don't want to do this today. There have been some dark seasons of my life. And you know what is always tied to the dark season of my life? It's me asking the question, Jesus, where are you? It's me not pursuing the relationship with Him. The one that He's made so easy for us. The one that is right there. Friends, let me tell you. For me, and I'll say this for me, and if it applies to you, awesome. If not, just judge me, that's fine too. But for me, every time I've been in one of those valleys in my life, it is because I am looking for Jesus physically instead of pursuing Him relationally.
That's good.
And when we do that, we become like the Pharisees. And He tells us, you will look for me, but you will not find me. Where I am, you cannot come. That's not what he wants for you. That's not what he wants for me. He doesn't want us in that dark place. He doesn't want us, and it doesn't matter what the circumstances are, right? Like, I've had some really crappy jobs in my life. Like, I was building a cinder block retaining wall in the middle of freezing rain, and I was more joyful than when I was getting to play soccer with a bunch of kids, right? Like, hold on, wait, what? See, it doesn't matter. The situation doesn't matter. I don't care if you are doing the thing that you hate the most in the entire world. You can have this relationship with Jesus and it changes things, right? The dark night that I'm talking about is not a circumstantial darkness. It is a lack of relationship. It is an utter abandonment of what you know spiritually to be true because you've experienced Jesus intimately in the past and you're not now. That's the darkness I'm talking about, right? And all of that happens when I'm being a Pharisee saying, no, Jesus, you're not here. You're not here. You're not present. You're not working in my life. In fact, I can't think of a time when you did. Friends, that is not what God wants for us. That is not why Jesus came for us. That is not why he pursued us. And I have to bring it back here. I have to bring it back here because this is where it's taking place. This is all happening at the Feast of Booths. The holiday that they are celebrating, God rescuing them from Egypt and God being present with them through the temple. But now Jesus is saying the temple is no longer what you thought it was. Once you thought it was a physical place, but now he's saying, listen, you're going to destroy the temple and in 3 days I'm going to rebuild it. What is he talking about? He's talking about himself. He's saying, listen, once you thought it was something else, now it is something brand new. It is me. All of this happening because Jesus' presence is the rescue that we need, and Jesus' presence is the hope that we need, and Jesus' presence is the relationship that we need. And if we're truly pursuing it, then that's where the living water comes bubbling out of us, pouring out of the desert places in our lives where we're dry, where it's dark. Is the light shining. And he's given us the recipe. He's given us the ingredients. So make the freaking torta in your life. Let's pray. Jesus, we love you. I thank you that you have made it so simple for us to connect with you. He said, all you want with us is a relationship. And yet, so often, we're standing there asking the question, Jesus, where are you? Jesus, where are you? Jesus, where are you? Only when you open our eyes and realize that you're right beside us, that you've been there the whole time. That growing closer to you, having a relationship with you, is not rocket science. Not stuff that my toddlers can do. Hey, but that's insulting, God. Why would you make it so easy for us? Jesus, I pray that I would stop pursuing a facade of being a good man. Instead, I would be a broken man in your presence, allowing you to work in me and work through me. That instead of working out a way that I could be better, I would work out my salvation with fear and trembling. Jesus, you've given us the recipe. You've given us the ingredients. You've made it simple. Pray that we would walk in that. Pray that we would walk in it. Jesus, we love you. meet you, it's a new